The James Show Podcast.
I am your host, James Parker, and I want the lesson from Austin to be a plague on both of your houses. What is that from Romeo and Juliet? Look at me quoting Shakespeare. A pox on both your houses or a plague on both your houses? Garrett, which one is it? Is it pox or plague? I don't remember. But, and I'm not saying this is like, hey, I hate both of your parties, so ha ha ha. Is it a plague on both your houses? Thank you, Garrett. All right, I was trying to sound smart there and ended up screwing it up. But I think both sides of the aisle, whether you're listening to me and you consider yourself to be a liberal Democrat or a conservative Republican, you should be livid at your party. You should, because both of them just spent 2 weeks lying to your face. And I know you guys are so good at recognizing when the other team's lying to your face. Why don't you get upset when your own team lies to your face? I am. I don't like it when Republicans or Democrats lie to me. I don't take it lightly. And so what you've probably noticed too is that most people aren't really voting for their political party as much as they're voting against the other political party. When the Republicans pull out someone terrible, like the worst candidate they had in 2008 was John McCain. And then with a straight face, they're trying to tell actual other conservatives who, they want peace. They want a balanced budget. They want a claw back of government spending and growth and scope to vote for this guy who doesn't stand for any of their principles. What was the response? Well, we can't let Obama win or we're not going to have a country again. If you had voted on your principles in 2008, maybe you wouldn't be here today. Obama did win, and he won a second term even. We still have a country, and we still have a broken party system. At some point, you are going to have to be willing to vote for a third party. And I don't mean withhold your vote and just stay home. That doesn't do you any good. There's really two ways you can fix the party system. Number one, work within the party system. Make sure the Republicans are actually putting out candidates that support principles, and they're going to stick to the principles when they get to Austin or D.C. or City Hall. You volunteer, be a precinct captain, donate to good candidates, speak out against bad candidates, go to meetings, focus on the primary elections the most. Here's one big thing you can do. And there's a lot of people out there with the means and the ability to do this. Run for office. Most of us can't afford it. Most of us, it's not going to fit in our schedule. We've got young kids. But for those of you who can do it, you would be very disappointed at the crop of candidates that comes up, because the people that volunteer to run for some of these lesser offices, county commissioner or some state land commissioner, things like that, dude, there's not a whole lot of great citizens that put themselves forward to do this. You get a lot of people who are just power hungry. They just think it would be cool, or they like telling people what to do, or they think they should be on TV. Some of them aren't very bright. So you have a better chance, especially at some of these local and state level offices. Run for office. But you also have to be willing to build up the system outside of the two-party system. If you're going into the next presidential election cycle and you do not like either candidate, to support a third-party candidate. If you're going to vote for a congressman and you don't like either candidate, for like the people who live in Dan Crenshaw's district or the people who live in Dustin Burrows' district, you can't bring yourself to vote for a Democrat, but you shouldn't be able to vote for that Rhino Republican either. You have to be willing to vote for a third party. You have to be willing to donate to candidates that are genuine and principled, whether they're in your party or not. Here's a few things people do that never works, and I'm tired of seeing it. Number one, don't make a sign and go stand in public. That's not how you affect change in a Democratic system, in a Republican system, or in anything other than a hissy fit system. Making a sign and standing in public is not the proper way to right the wrongs in your statecraft. Another thing that doesn't work, voting for the lesser of two evils. My Democrat friends out there, were you really excited about voting for Joe Biden in 2020 or 2024? Were you really excited about voting for Kamala Harris? No, you'd voted for the lesser of the two evils. Y'all do it too. Republicans did it for McCain and Romney just as hard as they could. And then you just did it for Biden a couple times. Stop. And don't think, well, I'm just not going to participate in the system. No, that's not sending anyone any messages either. You got to vote third party, because Republicans and Democrats will see that and they'll be like, well, we have to change if we want to get those votes. Monique, Fort Worth, you're on WBAP.
Well, hello. Can you hear me fine?
Yes, ma'am. You sound great.
Yeah. Okay. So I have an issue. I'm a Republican, and I came up listening to Rush Limbaugh, Mark Levin, Sean Hannity, and all them. Sean Hannity done lost his way. He just done got so annoying to me. And then Mark Levin, since Rush Limbaugh died, I don't know what happened to him, but I just don't listen to them no more. My issue is my party. I'm so sick. Like I had posted something on Twitter where I had gotten mad at Ken Paxton. He was going on all these hits talking about what you said earlier when he was like, well, we'll just wait them out. We won't throw them in jail. Well, why? Because if they had the power, they throw our asses in jail.
Yeah,
So I'm not understanding why my party has to be so weak on everything. And then when they do act strong, like Governor Abbott with these districts and stuff, he come out talking about when Newsom came out talking about he wanted to add 5 more districts. He said, well, if he does that, Texas will just draw 8. Why you don't draw 8 from the beginning? If we can get them, why can't we get them?
Yeah, if we're
Why you gotta be reactive? Why can't the Republican Party be proactive?
Well, here's the interesting, Monique, I hear the exact same thing from Team Blue voters. Now, they don't call into my show quite as often and say it in a public forum, but I would say probably more than half of my friends are Team Blue, and they say the same thing. Because right now, they're kind of ticked that the Democrats didn't run when Republicans were outlawing abortion in the state, because that's far more important to them than redistricting. They've got to be able to end their pregnancies. I mean, that's the most important thing to about a third of Democrat voters. They recognize that the Democrats pretended to take a stand on this, and they didn't even pretend to take a stand on actual issues that affect people. So, yeah, I hear that from both sides, Monique. And at some point, you've got to be willing to go outside of the two-party system. You've got to be willing to vote for someone in a Constitution Party or an Independent or a Libertarian or a Green Party or something like that. Because
I'm sorry, but I don't agree with. I understand what you're saying, but I don't agree with it because, first of all, I feel like our issue is we don't have enough people that care that pay attention to the primaries. If more of us paid attention to the primaries and started getting real Republicans in there, we would see such a difference.
Oh, totally agree. Totally agree. Look, we need to start talking about things that might not sound very popular. Like, what would happen if we just raised the voting age to 25? Or what if we just repealed the constitutional amendment that said it had to be 18 and let states pick? And we could let 50 different states do 50 different things and see if we get a better result. Maybe one of the reasons we have such terrible candidates and such terrible elected officials is we're letting the dumbest, least experienced people in our country pick them. This is Linda in Paradise. You're on WBAP. How do we fix this?
I have a fix.
Oh.
We're in a special session.
Yeah.
Go ahead and go to that special session, add a new legislation to sit there and say, if you ever leave the state of Texas and not do your job, or you hide in the state of Texas to not do your job, within 24 hours, if you do not show up, you automatically resign. And then you have 24 hours to replace them.
Linda, we're all thinking that. That's part of my complaint is that the Republicans aren't even proposing this now. This is built into the complaint because that would be a fix to keep them from running in the future. But they're not doing that. They're not taking anything away from them. They're not taking their seats now. They're not threatening to take their seats in the future. So, like I said, they're not even taking
Maybe if enough of us complain about it, maybe we'll get something done.
No, but this is part of the problem. The fact that they're not doing it, and we all agree that would be a good idea. I agree with you, Linda. I bet you the other 28 people on hold would love to see that law come to pass. And the fact that it's not being passed means you are being betrayed right now by the Republicans that were sent to Austin.
Oh, I agree.
All right, well... Thank you very much. There's Linda. This is David in Arlington. How would you fix this on WBAP?
Thank you. What about docking their pay?
I think there's like literally a law against that. You can't dock their pay. You can withhold their direct deposit and issue a physical check, and they already did that. But docking their pay is not going to get it done. They get paid very, very little. I remember it blew my mind to learn 20-something years ago when I started in talk radio that at the time they only made $7,000 a year. And they're only supposed to be there for 5 months every 2 years. It's not even supposed to be a full-time job. It's barely a part-time job. And I think it's just inched up to something like $13,000 now. So most of these people are either independently wealthy or their paycheck's so small that it's not a big part of their life. You know, they run on donors. They run on the grift. A lot of them are business owners or lawyers who have made millions off of some settlement somewhere. And so if the only punishment is financial, then it's just legal for a price. And so I don't think that's a good fix at all.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. I mean, look, we thought we were thinking about this when they ran in the first place. And if you're not going to throw them in jail or you're not going to take their seat away from them, these little financial paper cuts, that's not stopping anything. But hey, is worth throwing out there. Thank you for calling. That's David in Arlington. Let's stay in Arlington. Talk to Jeremy. Jeremy in Arlington, you're on WBAP. You got a fix for me? Jeremy Arlington says he's up. Well, I'll let it go then. Jeremy in Arlington, maybe unmute your phone or you're going to have to give me a call back. Yeah, so we're sitting here and we're dealing with this, and a lot of people are thinking about, well, how do we prevent this from happening in the future? Which I don't blame you. I want you to be more focused on what happened wrong right now. Why aren't the Republicans in Austin, why aren't they coming up with that bill that Linda just mentioned that says if you run again, you lose your seats? Because they don't mind if this happens again. They're okay with it happening again. You just open your brain. Just relax a little bit. They were okay with it happening this time. It was all for show. They were never upset about it. They never had any damn intention of kicking these people out of office or putting them in jail. This was at all times a show. I can't pretend to not know that now. But it makes sense, doesn't it? The same Republicans that you sent down there that voted Dustin Burrow into office. I like that. I like Joe Burrow. These are the same guys that didn't give you any noticeable property tax relief. They didn't give you real school choice. Only 1% of Texas students qualify for the school choice bill that they did pass. They didn't give you new border security that many of them promised on the campaign trail. I don't know how many times you people have to be betrayed before you stop going back to the spouse that is beating you. But y'all are walking right into another fist. This is Gene in Willow Park. You're on WBAP.
Hey, thank you very much. There's two parties, but when you start looking at the voting records of these people, there's like 7 categories of them. There's only about 30 Republicans that vote like Republicans.
Yes.
And then there's all the Democrats that vote like Democrats. And then the rest of the Republicans vote kind of with
Gene. So you're doing one of the Dan Bongino laws. Jim Verdi wrote the book from the Dan Bongino show where they say there are Republicans who there are Democrats who pretend like they're Republicans, but there are are no Republicans who pretend like they're Democrats.
Yeah, that's pretty. Yeah, well, there's 2 solutions. One, I think only Governor Abbott can put the suggested legislation on a special session thing.
Mm-hmm.
The House can't bring that up itself, I don't believe.
Well, that's a convenient excuse, but go ahead.
Well, I don't know. I think that's the way they run it. Some of the rules ought to change, but the only other solution, I think we put 26 Republicans in the House this last election that have a backbone. We need another 40.
Yeah, it's 36. There's 36 Republicans that went down there and they voted for Dustin Burrows, along with all of the Democrats in the House of Representatives, to get a speaker that was going to spend the next 5 months stabbing us in the back. And we have the list for that. I have the Rhino list. Brian Harrison and I put it together. We got a little map. If you want to get it, just send me an email or a Facebook message. I'll send it to you. Find out if you're one of those districts. We got to primary those guys out. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Coming up next on the James Show, a Frisco man is facing 20 years for shooting at kids playing Ding Dong Ditch. It's a TikTok trend called Door Kick. I don't think you should get 20 years, but there are some lessons to be learned from it. We'll talk about it next on the James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey, football fans. The preseason is trudging through, and it's a bit of a beating, isn't it? Well, here's a secret of the pros, Prize Picks. Prize Picks is so fun. It makes preseason watchable. And some of these look like gimmies. You go on Prize Picks, and it gives you the statistics like it's going to be a regular game, and then you have to pick more or less. You make a lineup of 2 to 6 people. And some of these stats are really weird because it is preseason. And so maybe you can go in and get some easy ones. For those of you who are Ranger fans and you're watching your team trying to make that last little run to make it into the playoffs, you can add a little bit of spice to the baseball you're already watching. For the college football folks, you can already put Arch Manning on a lineup. They have his stats against Ohio State that's kicking off the season. What is that, next weekend? So, look, whatever sport you're into, add a little bit more fun to the games that you're already watching with the Prize Picks app. Do it with our money. Download Prize Picks. Use promo code WBAP. You get $50 with your first $5 lineup. You hear that? Download Prize Picks. Use this promo code WBAP. And with your first $5 lineup, you'll get $50 in promo cash that you can play with and turn into real money. Prize Picks. Run your game. This is Gene in Flower Mound. You're on WBAP. Hey, Gene.
Hello. I just feel like that a lot of this is just theater.
It is.
Strictly theater.
Yes.
And all it does is it gives the Republicans a chance to do some saber rattling, and it gives the Democrats a chance to get attention. I think the only reasonable solution to stop all this crap is to lose their seats. Nothing else is going to work for them. Finances are not going to work for them. It just needs to be written into the Constitution or whatever they have to do to get this settled, that those folks who are not there for these sessions have to lose their seats. And, I mean, I understand there may be excuses that people might have, valid excuses, to not be able to show up. But, I mean, barring that, kick their butts out.
Yeah,
It doesn't matter which party.
Yeah, but the fact that law is not being passed just shows that the Republicans really aren't upset about them running. They're like, you know what, go ahead and run. As long as you come back in a couple weeks and we still get our maps, go ahead. You can say whatever you want about us. We'll say whatever we want about you. But when we get done, we'll come back here and just do what we were going to do anyway. Yeah, heck yeah, this is all theater. Heck yeah, this is all for show. This is why I'm surprised that more people aren't ticked off. This is why I'm surprised that there's still two parties. I can't believe that there's not a third or a fourth party, because there's a uniparty system. Democrats and Republicans pretty much agree on the size, scope, and spending of government at all levels. The only thing they really disagree on is some things that aren't economic to them, that doesn't really help or hurt them, like an abortion or a racism or some of these other just kind of cultural issues that really have very little to do with statecraft. And as long as they can keep us fighting over those, fighting over, we have a gender divide or we have a racial divide or abortion, they can keep growing their own power. They can keep growing their own spending. They can keep taking more money from the rest of us and spending it on themselves and their lobbyists and their donors and their friends. And we're too busy fighting each other to know the difference.
Absolutely. And I have friends who, they got all excited about, they're going to arrest them and they're going to do this. And I told them, I said, that's crap. I said, they're not going to do anything. They're both going to just get their little ways, and it's all free publicity.
Well,
every bit of it.
Listen, find out who these guys are, and if you live in their district, don't vote for them. But the problem is I'm listening to this, you're listening to this, about 100,000 people will get this message. We're in a metropolitan area of 8 million people. We're in a state of 30 million people. This is not going to cut it. The James Show listening audience isn't going to be educated enough to override the uneducated votes of the other, 29.9 million people. But yeah, that's all you can do.
Unfortunately, you're right. Yeah, unfortunately, you are totally correct on that. And I just hear people and they're sincere, when they say these things. And I'm saying, look, guys, this has happened before. What happened then? Nothing.
Yeah, nothing.
So,
right.
So, all right. Well,
a lot of people predicted this. Yeah, I don't know who could argue with us at this point. Thank you, Gene. One more call on this, and then we'll move on. Pete and Hazlitt, you're going to have the last word on WBAP.
So rather than a word, I was hoping to ask you a question, James, because emotionally, I'm with you about supporting other parties, and I agree with your philosophy. In practice, who can keep the Democrats out of their seats? There's only one party strong enough to do it.
Don't care. This is exactly what I'm talking about. That is so the wrong mindset. You can't just vote for whatever the Republicans put up because you hate the Democrats so damn bad. Because listen, if this is what I was told in 2008, because John McCain was the least Republican in my lifetime that ran for office. Maybe the least Republican of all time would be Nixon. But if that mindset, you lost anyway. So wouldn't we have made progress if you were willing and other people were willing to vote for a third party instead of John McCain? Look, they got you to vote for John McCain, not because John McCain's good or good for this country or supports your principles. They just got you to hate Barack Obama enough to vote for John McCain. You can't do that. We can't do that anymore. We have to stop voting for the lesser of two evils. And you have to be willing to let the Democrats win for a 4-year cycle. They're going to win some of these cycles anyway. We might as well get something out of it. So same thing for the Democrats. You were scared to death of Trump winning in 2016. They told you we wouldn't have a country left. Well, we still had a country left, didn't we? So Democrats, you shouldn't vote for trash candidates like a Hillary Clinton or a Joe Biden either. So if both of y'all could just stop and for once in your life, don't vote for the lesser two evils, vote on your principles. You know what that feels like? To say, I'm going to go outside of the bounds of the two-party system and vote on my principles. Feels pretty damn good. I recommend we all try it. We'd be better off if we started doing that 20 years ago. All right, well, that was a good last word then, Pete Haslett. WFAA is going to give you the background on our next story. Did you hear about this guy who shot at the teenagers that were doing the door kick challenge? This is really dumb.
Every house in this Frisco neighborhood has a front door. Most of them open every day to families, friends. But 3 weeks ago on July 28th, one knock here set off a chain of choices that almost turned deadly.
Homeowner had come out from his house after hearing a loud bang on his door.
That homeowner, 58-year-old Damon Wolf, police say, now charged with 3 counts of aggravated assault.
We had some kids that started out as a prank, ding-dong ditching a house.
Frisco PD's chief saying Wolf called 911 himself.
He ran out into a street, fired shots into a vehicle as it was coming his direction, and then as it had already passed him.
Telling investigators he heard a loud kick on his door, then opened fire on a car driving away. 3 teens were inside, police say. 3 bullet holes found on their vehicle when a parent called police later in the evening.
It was a mother that felt the need to record it as well, make sure that connect the dots. The kids did not want to report it because, certainly they were out doing these pranks.
Pranks that can be found all over social media right now. On TikTok, they call it the Door Kick Challenge, a digital dare that's just ding-dong ditch with more force. Kids trading a ring of the bell for the thud of a fist or a foot against the door.
So one side thought it was a prank, the other seemingly a threat. In this day and age, Frisco PD says when those two worlds collide, people can get hurt.
I don't know why that's so funny. But I'm self-aware enough and humble enough to admit that when I was a teenager, I thought that was hilarious. You saw it at the beginning of Billy Madison. Remember when Adam Sandler and Norm Macdonald left a flaming bag of dog poo on the old man's house, on the old man's doorstep? It was Old Man Withers or something. Don't put it out with your boots, Ted. I don't know why that's funny. I don't know why it's funny to knock on a door and then run around the corner or run around behind a tree and then watch the person come out and go, hello? And they just look dumb. Like, well, I don't know what's going on. It's funny. Is it stupid? Yeah. Oh, yeah, it's stupid. I liked a lot of stupid stuff when I was younger. I still like a lot of stupid stuff. I'm way too old to be liking stupid stuff. That's another episode. But let's go and talk about like the rights and wrongs and the ethics of this situation. I mean, are the kids in the wrong? I guess, but it's not really that big of a deal. It really should just be considered a harmless prank. It's not like they're destroying crops with making crop circles. It's not like they're putting a burning cross in his yard and intimidating and scaring the hell out of people. They're just going up and they're kicking the snot out of a door and they're running off and they're filming the process because a lot of people think that's funny. You see other people do it on TikTok. You're like, I can do it too. And so monkey see, monkey do. Well, the guy on the business end of this prank took it a little too far. Of course, that is not what you're supposed to react. That's not how you're supposed to react as a responsible gun owner. You're not supposed to come out with a gun and start squeezing off rounds. Now, if I want to be completely elastic in my thinking and give him the benefit of the doubt, did you hear a couple of key points in there? Number one, when he shot at the car originally, it wasn't pulling away from him. It was driving towards him. Now, I don't think it was going to pull up in the yard and smack him on the front porch. But when he's squeezing off rounds, it kind of sounds like he's just hitting a car while it's going away, which is even worse because, bro, they are no longer a threat to you. They are exiting the situation. There's nothing but bad that can happen if you're squeezing off rounds in that situation. So, the most generous ethical review of the situation is, yeah, that's pretty bad. But also, he did call the cops on himself. Guilty people don't do that. People who think they're guilty don't do that. It also shows a sign of, some responsibility here. He wasn't just recklessly squeezing off rounds, and if he can get away with it, good. If someone died, whatever. But he also wanted to explain himself. You're squeezing off 3 rounds at a car. Some of your neighbors might be calling the cops. You want to go ahead and get your side of the story in, too, so the cops don't show up. But I guess the lesson here is twofold. Number one, gun owners, don't act like this. Be better. But number 2, kids, you can do pranks that you think are harmless, but you need to remember there are crazy people out there who they might not think it's funny. They might overreact. They may do things that are unethical, illegal, and you may end up getting seriously hurt or even dead. So can we all just chill out a little bit? I mean, kicking doors, I can't tell you it's not funny. I can tell you not to do it, but there are going to be some funny things that you just shouldn't do. I don't care if all your friends are jumping off a bridge on TikTok. You shouldn't jump off a bridge, too. Coming up next on The James Show, the income needed to afford the median home in Dallas, up 50% over the last 6 years. You shouldn't be shocked by that. I'll tell you why next on News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP.
The James Show Podcast.